so that the wananchi, the ordinary Ugandan, can at least can afford food at a cheaper price. So this group that came in after the 223 milling companies were shut down, the group that replaced them, most of them foreigners, Rwandese, Somalis, Asians, and so on, for them, they don't care. They sell the maize flour at the highest price in Uganda. That is number one. Most of them are selling a kilogram at maybe 4,000 shillings and above. The few indigenous ones that survived, they are selling at 3,300 in there at the highest. Meaning if you negotiate, you can get even below that. But those ones funded and sponsored by the deep state, they sell at the highest, in that they even feel very bad to find an indigenous Ugandan operating even a single machine. That is number one. Another industry that is under capture is the sugar industry. Busoga sub-region, Bunyoro, and many parts of Uganda, we produce a lot of sugar canes. But the devil is in the details of how to transport that sugar cane from the plantations to the milling factories to turn into sugar. Our farmers are deeply exploited. Most of those milling companies, sugar manufacturing companies, are now mainly owned by foreigners, most of them Asians. The indigenous Ugandans were alienated and pushed out of the industry. Through URA, they overtax. Sometimes they even tax you 7 times the actual amount you're supposed to pay. That one alone interferes with your profit margins. You fail to break even, you make losses, and then you end up winding up and then selling your assets and liabilities to an Asian who comes in and then gets a tax holiday, exploits the farmers, and then make abnormal profits. Right now, it is mainly General Kaindo Tafire who is in charge of the sugar, all the sugar in Uganda, both internally and the one coming from outside. No Ugandan is allowed to import sugar. That is number one. You cannot. It is only him. So sugar, we have too much sugar in our country, but he made an order. The manufacturing, the sugar making factories, they are supposed to keep for him. So when we talk about the economy being balkanized, this is too deep. And like we said, the way forward is we need to look at the alternatives. First of all, like our speakers have said, we need the data. We need to collect the data. These companies, we know them. Everybody knows the companies from wherever they come from. It is only a matter of compiling a comprehensive list, and we see how we move forward. But right now, we are in a deep crisis here in Uganda, not mainly because of maybe poverty and so on. It is because of the state capture. And then those in the state, they only use the political wing for legitimacy. They operate mainly in the economy. That's why when we talk of the economic non-cooperation, we are touching on their taproot. And if we boycott their products deeply, they will be so bankrupt, they will push these ones who balkanize the economy. They are the very people who can even push Museveni out of power or put out of pressure on him to create for us the political, social, and economic reforms capable of saving our country and it usher in a new Uganda with all the freedoms that we want, including the freedom of trade. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Comrade Julius Kalonde, for that wonderful submission. You brought in you highlighted also on another point of exploitation of the Ugandans by even some of these companies. Yes, and yet they still survive Yeah, for example, I heard of even a company that sells that pays Ugandans 2,000 a day for them to work in their factories, and they are surviving in such a situation, and they are making in such a country, and they are making profits actually. So yes, and I've also appreciated that you have made good research, like the way Comrade Julius Okoth was saying, we need to do data collection. You did some data collection, and that is wonderful, and it will be a good way forward for us as Ugandans. Yes, I would like to invite Comrade Namara Claire. She had asked for the microphone to maybe also ask her questions, and or add on to what our speakers had of the day had submitted. You're welcome, Comrade Namara.
Thank you so much, moderator. Good evening to everyone. Um, I appreciate our speakers for the great insight. Mine is to comment on two issues. Amongst the economic pillars of our operation as Ugandans, the financial institutions, of which Comrade Auma highlighted about the Revenue Regulatory Body, which is URA, and the state has captured the whole institution in a way that it uses the URA to introduce those policies, those acts, for example, the Local Service Act. And this act, you find people's salaries, the oppressed people who have gotten the little jobs they have, their salaries are taxed, and there are very many taxes attached on to those salaries. And at the end of the day, you find that ordinary person, even what he's earning is so less. And that's the tool that the state has used to keep the ordinary person very poor, to keep them in poverty, such that they keep under that state. Now, for example, that local service tax, where an individual may be earning 500 to 1 million, is taxed 50,000. On the same salary, a person is supposed to pay between 500 to 600. They're supposed to pay around 30% of their income. And now, when you calculate all those taxes, the ordinary person, ends up getting nothing. And the affected people, these are doctors who treat our people in those hospitals. The affected people, those are teachers. Last time we had teachers who were striking for salary increment, but they had forgotten those taxes that are put onto their salaries. What if they first requested, or they first dodged those taxes on their salaries? Because even if a teacher is their salary is increased, for example, the science teachers, maybe to 4 million. When you calculate those taxes, the local service tax, the payee, the NSSF, insurance, and they pay you 4 million, you find an individual is earning about 2 million after paying all those taxes. That is exploitation. And then, secondly, I would like to comment about the education sector. Comrade Julius highlighted about the private sector being successful. Actually, this private sector, when you look at those companies, those schools, most of them are owned by state agents, and some of them they're given space to dodge those taxes. And the owners of other companies that are not owned by those state owned are the ones incurring in those taxes. People's salaries, us who are buying goods, we are the ones that are paying those taxes that the state agents companies are dodging. So the private sector is most successful because it is exploiting the ordinary people. When you look at those funny policies within the institutions that are exploit. It may be tuition increment. You find there are some funny other policies that are not understandable, that someone is supposed to pay late payment and late registration fees, that someone is supposed to pay some other fees which the students don't understand. That's where the private sector is now. The state is encouraging the private sector because they're the ones who are owning those education institutions. So as we go deep on the ground, when you dig deep, you find there are very many hidden financial exploitation of the people, ordinary people, and we are the ones suffering all that financial exploitation. I would like to urge all of us to read a certain book called The Economic Hitman. When you read that book, you'll find out what exactly is happening in Uganda, what exactly is happening in URA. They use those people who work there to formulate those funny policies, to hide the money that is being embezzled, to hide them, not even to include them in the reports, to hide those individuals that are embezzling those monies, to hide those companies that are dodging taxes, and also go to these other, transfer the taxes to the common person. So we should actually, as Comrade Julia said, we should find more information about these companies. We name shame them. Even these financial institutions the state has captured, we should also expose them and expose what they're doing. Thank you so much, Comrade. I would like to end there due to time.
Well, thank you so much, Comrade Claire, for that wonderful submission. Yes, it's a lot. It has been it's a wonderful discussion when people are now recommending books like the Economic Hitman. It will help us, I think, equip ourselves with more information about what we are talking about today. And I believe this discussion, we have all improved. We have not been left the same from what we have heard from. We have learned from one another and from mostly our speakers of the day. Yes. So the speakers, I see that both the speakers do not have the microphones. I don't know. They had all they had all lost their microphones. I'm trying to invite them to maybe give concluding comments on the topic, and then we can proceed with the space today. Yes, also unmasking the economic pillars of Uganda's operation. Today we have mainly we have basically been getting their categories. We have basically gotten their categories, but I think we should even have some time for us to, in those categories, to break down the names of the real companies that are actually holding the operation in power. It will make, I think, the work more easier for us to know what are we supposed to do for those different companies that are stated therein. Yes, Comrade Julius Okoth, you are welcome to give concluding remarks on the topic of the day, so that we can close this session.
Yeah, thank you. My concluding remark is that we must do a lot of data collection, and data collection is not requiring much. You see, during campaign time, we need to identify which are companies or individual are always in the front line in fundraising for the regime, supporting regime. When the people are going to hotel and they're being the fundraising, and for each plate of food is maybe $2,000. Ask yourself, who's this person? That's where social research starts. That's how we can collect data. That's how we can collect data. So I'll encourage you, when you're unmasking these economic pillars, it requires a lot of data collection. You know, sometimes, when you're starting a campaign, it must be factual-based campaign. So we need to do a lot of data collection. And a part of data collection is also when there is forceful evictions in areas of northern Uganda, we need to do social research. Why are people being forcefully evicted from their land, from their ancestral land? Those are the questions that we need to ask ourselves. They're being forcefully evicted in their land because there is a company that has been given a certain block to do exploration and exploitation of natural resources. Those are the things that we're supposed to do. So a lot of data collection is required because without data, because people will say, you're just saying because you're not factual. So we need to be factual when you are unmasking these economic pillars, and let it be factual. It should not just be something that it's not factual. So I encourage the issue of factual. Secondly, we need to understand how to do power analysis. I encourage about the issue of power analysis. You cannot do these things if you don't understand the way states operates. You don't understand statecraft, how states look like. State is something that if you don't do analysis, you cannot understand it. State is very something that there's some people who don't even understand what government looks like. So we need to do a lot of power analysis. By doing power analysis, we shall know these pillars that feeds the organ. Then, like the way Tamalius mentioned about what do you call it? Uganda Revenue Authority. It's called authority. Everything in Uganda is authority. Everything in Uganda is authority. Police, force. It's either force or authority. Uganda sometimes is very funny. Everything is authority or force. You realize even forest, I don't know where wildlife, authority, force, police force, everything is force. So those are the things that are making life to be very difficult. So we need also to do a research on these companies. Who are the owners of these companies? Who are the shareholders, and how much shares do they own in those companies? The directors, and if possible, how they pay tax. Those are the things that can help us in campaign of bringing down this. Fear come when people fear something that they don't know. But if you know these companies very well, there's nothing to fear because people fear what they don't know. So immediately you know these companies, there's nothing that you can fear. Even the issue of a forceful eviction will be difficult because you already know. People are being chased off the land, they're being forcefully evicted because they don't know. And when you don't know, you fear. So already when communities knows the truth, they know the statecraft, they'll not fear anything, and they'll have that power and courage to defend themselves. So we need to know all those things. So those are the way we can, those companies, those companies, just like they have been telling you about an onion. We need to peel them off. We cannot just say Total. Total is just it's just a big things that we don't know about it. So we need to peel it off like the way we peel an onion. So we need to understand Total, history of Total, shareholders of Total, directors, how they pay their taxes, and if they're among the people who always contribute to fundraising when the president is standing for election in 2026 and 2027. Are they the same people who fundraise for these things? So those are the questions that we need to understand. We need to ask ourselves. Those are questions we don't need to ask anybody. We ask ourselves. We peel off those companies so that we can understand them. By understanding them, also the fear goes. Because people fear what they don't know. But already when we know, we'll not fear. And this is by understanding how statecraft, how state operates. And we can know how state operates by analyzing power, how power operates. That's what I can conclude by today's discussion. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Comrade Julius Okoth, for that wonderful submission for that day. Yes, it has been a wonderful hearing from you. It has been very educative. It has been very very inspiring, from even hearing from past experiences, like from our brothers from the Kenyan side. Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone who endeavored to attend this session and to offer their time to our speakers. It is always wonderful to have you here to learn from you, to get more information from you, and also learn from also the members that come here in and give in their submissions. Thank you so much for today, and it has been a great time unmasking the economic pillars of Uganda's oppression. Have a good night.